I'll teach you what I learned through years of coding, where I ended up creating a project that has been played by a gigantic YouTuber.
I failed. Well, you're not getting the job. I ain't gonna lie, man. Playing basketball.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
So that you don't waste time making the same mistakes I did. My coding journey started before I even realized it. One of my earliest memories of coding is of me sitting on the ground in my family room in 2014 using extremely basic Minecraft commands to place chickens on top of each other. Later on, my parents put me in a robotics program, which the only things I remember are watching the Minions movie, using computer vision to keep your robot moving in between lines, and creating a two-player game where the players had to race each other to click a button faster than one another. In grade 8, I made a presentation about the very basics of Python. It's deleted now, and I forgot all of Python after that. I remember this for later. Extremely on and off between 2018 and 2019, I got into making RPG Maker games after playing a game called Lisa.
Wait, oh Tommy, now look what you did. It's okay, sport, we'll put that out. Hey, could you hand me that bucket of water? There's a bucket of water right here. Hey, you fool! That was my gasoline bucket. Oh, that's the water bucket.
And years later, in September 2020, I decided to pick up coding again as I wanted to make a website.
Yeah, baby!
This is when I took coding seriously, and up until that point, even though it sounded like I knew quite a bit, I barely knew or remembered anything about coding. I didn't even understand loops.
Palindrome! You can't solve palindrome!
I ended up making a project for a hackathon where me and a buddy worked on a site that was a random generator for a bunch of random different things. I started out by creating random test websites, playing around with HTML, CSS, and eventually JavaScript. I made my own personal portfolio and haven't updated it since. Once I understood the very basics of languages like JavaScript in my own time and Scratch with the help of high school, I started creating what I loved playing, video games. Yes, I said Scratch. Learning a bit of Python in high school helped quite a bit in learning JavaScript. I was so inspired by the idea of creating virtual worlds where you're only capped by your imagination. My first project was a stickman game in Unity. I just made this extremely basic project in order to understand the fundamentals of Unity, which for me would mean creating something not solely based off a tutorial, but based on what I wanted to make. This is important because you actually end up learning how the game engine works, being component heavy, and how objects communicate to one another, rather than following a tutorial step by step and not being able to do anything once the tutorial is done. Soon after, I heard of the 2020 Game Jam, and oh boy, as soon as I heard the theme, Moonshot, I had an idea of what I was gonna build. My initial plan was to build a game similar to Flappy Bird, but with a vertical aspect to it, bosses, a plot, and moving pipes called enemies.
Go away, bud.
It came out better than I thought it would, and it was such a great experience creating a game where the limits of what I wanted to do was based on my own creativity. Having the deadline of 30 days was great as well, as it kept me accountable and efficient. I also worked on a lot of small projects and projects I didn't finish.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
My friend was talking about how he wanted to create bunny hop scripts in CSGO, and that gave me the idea to make some sort of keyboard and mouse macro program. But when I tried using it in CSGO, obviously the anti-cheat didn't allow it. I would be very concerned if it did. After this, I went back to web development. I jumped into the world of React and wanted to create a full stack application, which is both the back end and the front end. Using the MERN stack, I created a very simple application where, based on the average mortality rate and the user's inputted birth date, I would calculate when they would die. Yeah, the idea came from
Vsauce, Michael here.
I used Electron, a framework to make desktop apps, and this is how companies keep developer costs down while keeping their browser app and their desktop app practically the same. They are basically shipping you a standalone browser that exclusively runs their desktop app. Another hackathon I did was where we created a financial app to allow us to record transactions in a more fun way and easily with audio. You could view your data afterward, which was pretty cool. And if you haven't done any hackathons before, I highly suggest you try them, as you can learn a ton about yourself, others, about working in a team, and even leading it.
Hey, welcome back with your host, the ex-Google, ex-Facebook tech lead. Not to mention multi-millionaire. Thought I'd forget that, didn't you?
As well as the different technologies and APIs active in the field of CS. The weekend after, I did another hackathon where we created a web application that connects charities and shelters to local restaurants. And we won a prize with a very cool title. A lot of these projects do look pretty bad because of the time restraints, and we were beginners. I also made a progressive web app where you can explore different colors that people can use in their own projects through a 3D environment. Another project I worked on was called WatchSocket. I really enjoyed this project. We ended up working like 36 hours on this, and real-time communication using sockets was very interesting to me. It allowed you to watch videos with your buddies, with anyone in the private session, being able to add to the queue, pause, chat, and draw messages to each other.
That's why he's the GOAT!
Discord definitely copied us. We then won another hackathon by creating a thought jotter that would allow you to very quickly organize ideas. I also made a social app connecting friends and random people together, but never ended up finishing or launching it. A lot of it was just practicing technologies. I then applied to RBC for a student summer job position, spending 15 hours on the video application, including the project, and they didn't accept me. We created a mobile app also with the backend that connected customers and medical professionals from anywhere in the world. I eventually played with making a Flutter app for my phone, but since I already knew React, I just plan to use React Native down the line instead. We did another hackathon where we created a web app that allows users who have gotten into an auto accident to easily file an insurance claim by digitally filling out the required forms. Yes, boring. I believe we went for the Intact Insurance Challenge, and we even sucked up to them, but we didn't win.
Is them tears, bro?
I wanted to make a barrier project using React and Discord, and the Discord bot API I played around with earlier, and I ended up making a server member verification system for Discord. I learned a bit more about design during this project and worked on Stripe.js for payment, which I found so cool. Using Google OAuth as well was pretty cool. Just check out the gradient text, man. Insane, I know. I'm a genius.
Stop the cap.
Soon after, we did another hackathon where we created an app that allows you to enter a self-care task, and the web app will help you get into the habit of doing it while tracking your activity for 21 days. We did not connect much of the back end to the front end, and of course, being the walking W's we won. We're always taking W's on this channel.
Stop the cap.
Second is the first loser.
Hey, stop it. Get that out of here right now. After trying a bunch of small different projects out and learning a bit of Postgres and Chakra UI, replacing MongoDB in Stack, get that out of here. I landed on my next project idea, Fitprovement. I built a modular social media web and mobile application for sharing and tracking workouts. I use technologies such as React, React Native, and Figma. This was my first project that I actually used extensively because I made this in order to help me remember my workout routines during a time where I didn't have a gym membership. Another hackathon we did was where we created a service that was used in busy areas where homeowners could rent out their driveway space for parking. Working with the Google Maps API was really cool, and going with the theme of the app, we put bananas instead of map markers where you could park your car. Then I learned how great Alexa was at concurrent communication. Discord and Dogehouse were using it, so I decided to give it a shot. There weren't that many tutorials on it, and I ended up wanting to learn and refine skills more tailored to the wide job market, so I just moved on to another technology. What I do remember though is piping.
Today, we're gonna learn about the pipe operator.
I'm no plumber, but I remember piping. I'm just gonna skip over some school stuff because no one cares about these projects, because they're not important enough.
Oh my god! What is that?
Next up, I spent a week recreating Black Ops Zombies. You can go watch the video I made about it over here. I also made a horror game about Corey Kenshin. You can go play that game. And there was an FPS game based on Carlson I made that you can go watch. I left out a lot of things because they were either unimportant or hard to look at. If you'd like to get into programming, just know it can be really interesting and mentally rewarding. At the end of the day, programming is there to fix the problems in our lives to make life easier. So if you need inspiration for a project idea, analyze the daily problems you have and see if you can automate it. Working on a project that fixes your own problem makes you more likely to finish it. This coding journey was full of lots of ups and downs, but I definitely learned a lot. I would say to anyone when starting out, making mistakes is part of the process.
Programming is actually this amazing thing where you can get instant feedback on whether or not your thing works, which can't be said about a lot of things in life.
Of course, use the feedback that you get immediately on local environments. Don't push your bugs to production. Thank you for watching.